Hello and welcome to my life in Dublin. So in Dublin, this was my fabulous house, my dining room, my living room. Just kidding. I moved to Dublin for work and stayed here for almost a year and a half. My contract was not limited by time, so unlike in my previous relocations to Shanghai and Milan, where there was a clear beginning and end because I moved there to study, there was a set time frame, I didn't know how long I would end up living here for. I could have stayed forever, potentially. I feel like the footage here is going to be a bit more random, as the entire time I was just going to work, hanging out with coworkers who became friends, traveling, and just living life. After I left, I realized I kind of forgot to film. In the first 30 days, I stayed in an apartment the company had rented for me, which was absolutely beautiful. After that, I moved to an area called Rathmines, which is considered to be a really nice area and quite close to the center. Like I said, I ended up not really filming a lot of my everyday life, so let me show it to you on Google Street View. So this is Rathmines. The thing about Dublin is that everything looks like the suburbs. This was a 20-minute walk from the very center of Dublin. This was a really cute pub. I did my groceries at Aldi, Lidl, and sometimes Tesco. Unfortunately, I have no footage for an inside an Irish supermarket video, but if I ever travel back, I'll make sure to film and make a video about it. So the area was nice, but I absolutely hated the apartment I was living in. This was 3 years ago, but I believe it hasn't changed since then. There's actually a huge housing crisis in Dublin. It's literally easier to find a job in one of the big tech companies than it is to find a decent apartment to rent, simply because there's not enough supply. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but at the time, so 3 years ago, I kept hearing that construction companies completely stopped building residential properties after the financial crisis. And I don't know if they resumed since I left, but at the time, this was a huge problem. Insane rent prices aside, in order to apply for an apartment, you need to submit a CV, a letter from your employer, payslips, and then there are 30 other people viewing the same apartment, and everyone is a great candidate just as you are, but the landlord is only going to pick one of you. And I'm not even going into the topic of locals being priced out and how privileged I was to even consider these apartments and be a, quote, good candidate. I was stuck in my lease for a year and hated every second of it. It's a bit easier renting with flatmates, which is what most people do. And after my rent contract expired, I moved into a shared apartment with one other girl. The apartment was in Grand Canal, the girl I lived with was lovely, and I had such a great time there. The first thing you see when you enter is this beautiful wallpaper that I loved. It was a corner apartment, so we had lots of light. You could see the swan swimming in the canal, people rowing boats, and running marathons. Fireworks on occasion. Absolutely beautiful. I had a really good time here. There were 2 bedrooms. One of them had an ensuite bathroom, which is where my flatmate lived. And this was my bedroom. This was my bathroom. This was the kitchen. And this was the living room. To give you an idea, each of us paid €1,200 per month per room, excluding utilities. So back in 2019, this type of apartment would have cost you around €2,400 per month if you wanted it all to yourself. $1,200 per room was on the higher end of prices back then. You could find rooms in that area for $950, $1,000, but on average they were a bit less nice and modern. In terms of work, I worked for a tech company and loved every second of it. I really enjoyed what I was doing. The company had such a great culture. My coworkers were amazing and I'm still in touch with many of them. I got to go on a few very cool trips. We had themed parties for all holidays and just cool events in general. And we had amazing food served to us daily at work, which was a huge plus for me because I hate cooking. 10 out of 10 experience. Ireland is obviously home to Irish pubs, and Dublin has a ton of very cute and cozy pubs, and I spent many evenings just going to a pub with friends from work. I actually never had a drink at the famous Temple Bar. I've been inside, but it's always so packed with tourists at all times of day, so we always ended up going for something less crowded. There would also be a lot of house parties. Dublin is a very young city because many people move here for work, so you meet a ton of interesting people from all around the world. It really had nice university vibes, except we were all working instead of studying. Every weekend, on Saturday or Sunday, I would go to a cafe by myself and have a coffee and some cake or brioche for breakfast and read a book or listen to a podcast. It was a really nice me time. This is the city center of Dublin, south of the river. This is the city center north of the river. This is what it looked like before Christmas. Very cute. Everything north of the river had an odd number for a zip code, so Dublin 1, Dublin 3, Dublin 5, etc. And everything south of the river had an even number as a zip code, so Dublin 2, Dublin 4, Dublin 6. I think they changed the zip code system since I left, but that was it at the time. And this is a bridge that connects the two parts. Public transport in Dublin is not great. There is no metro, there are only 2 tram lines. The tram is called Luas, I'm not sure if it's plural or singular. And buses were not always reliable. There are areas you have like 10 bus lines going, but then there are areas that are not that far apart on the map, but you would need to take like 3 different buses to go from point A to point B. I really liked it that on buses they said all the stops in English and Irish. So for example, I would always pass by George Street, and in Irish it sounded something like Shroyd Shorsha. I loved it. The weather in Dublin, and I guess in the rest of Ireland, is terrible. It was always really cold. The warmest it got during the summer was about 18 degrees Celsius. It was constantly raining and windy. I think the wind was the worst part because it made everything so much colder. And it's so unpredictable too, so you can't really plan around weather. Ireland has beautiful nature, but again, because I really didn't like the weather, I had no interest in going into all the famous and beautiful places. The only places I visited outside of Dublin were Howth and Malahide. I love the trains I took to get there. They looked like they were from a Wes Anderson movie. A place I did visit a lot was Dublin Airport because I traveled quite a lot while I lived there. Okay, check out the most beautiful sunrise I've ever seen. This was 8 a.m. in October. I loved seeing the swans swimming in the canals. They were so majestic, but they're actually so scary if you make eye contact with them. They're terrifying up close. And you would randomly see a horse and carriage. This is not even a touristy area or anything. This was Rathmines. And there were a lot of seagulls too. Oh, and this was the Embassy of the Netherlands, where I went to get my work visa for my next destination. Spoiler alert, after Dublin, I moved to Amsterdam for another job. Based on this experience in Dublin, I was approached by another company for another job opportunity that sounded very interesting, so I decided to take it. And this was me leaving. So, how was my Dublin experience? I think that Dublin has so much opportunity for professionals. There are so many jobs available in the biggest tech companies. You gain experience, you expand your personal and professional network. It really opened so many doors and brought so many opportunities to me and literally everyone I worked with. However, it is important to note that Dublin is an extremely difficult place to live. Bad weather, terrible housing market, there's not much to do, public transport is bad, and this last point might be a bit weird, but like I said, everything looks like the suburbs and it's just so boring and uninspiring. All in all, I am so grateful for this opportunity I got to live and work there, and who knows, maybe I'll be back in the future. There were some positives, there were some negatives, and I hope that this video gave you a good idea of what it is like living in Dublin. Thanks for watching, see you later.